The rain in June came down thick and sticky. I stared at my phone screen. A WeChat message from Su Wanqing. The message wasn't long. 4 lines total. I read it over a dozen times. I recognized every word. But together they formed a puzzle I couldn't solve. Chinjo, let's break up. I've thought about it a lot. We're not right for each other. You're a good person, but you can't give me the life I want. Don't contact me again. I had thought about it a lot. About the first time I saw her at the library entrance 3 years ago. She was carrying a stack of books and ran into me. The books scattered everywhere. She crouched down to pick them up. Her ponytail brushed across my hand. About the year she graduated, when her father's company hit trouble. She called me crying and said, Chinjo, did I think my family's going to lose everything? About last winter on her birthday. When I gave her a scarf I'd knitted myself. Crooked stitches everywhere. She laughed and said Lu Chinjo, what's a grown man doing learning to knit? And then she put it on. She wore it all winter. I thought about a lot of things. But I couldn't find a reason why. Because we're not right for each other is always just the final shot. The ambush and the aiming happened before that. And I missed all of it. I put down the phone and walked to the window. It was raining outside. Water dripped from the eaves of the old residential building. A scrap collector's tricycle clattered past below. Bells jingling. This rental was $1,200 a month. North-facing. Cold in winter. Stuffy in summer. A patch of mold had grown on one wall. I'd lived here 3 years. Su Wanqing came once. Last summer. She stood at the door. Took one look. And said, Chinjo, you need to move somewhere else. I said I'll wait. She didn't bring it up again. But that day when she left, she turned back and gave me a look. There was something in her eyes I didn't understand at the time. Today I figured it out. It was pity. My phone buzzed again. A delivery call. I had a same-day package. I went downstairs to pick it up. The courier handed me a stiff red envelope. Gold foil edges. The paper felt high quality. I tore it open. Inside fell an invitation card. Gold embossed lettering. A sandalwood scent wafted out when I opened it.mr. Zhou Xiaoheng. Ms. Su Wanqing. Request the honor of your presence. At their wedding. June 28th. Grand Ballroom. Shenghua International Hotel. Reception at 12 noon. At the bottom of the card, there was a line of handwriting. I recognized it. Su Wanqing's handwriting. I'd copied notes for her in college. Chinjo, I hope you'll come witness my happiness. Wanqing witness my happiness. I stood in the stairwell holding the invitation. Rainwater crashed down from the eaves and splashed on the concrete. Cold air hit my feet. A neighbor came down to take out the trash. They glanced at me as they passed, probably thinking it was weird to see someone standing in the rain staring at a red piece of paper. I went back inside and put the invitation on the table. I pulled a tin box out from under the wardrobe. It was my grandmother's. The Shanghai Phoenix logo was stamped on top. Rust had formed around the edges. Inside, there was a brown paper envelope. And inside that a stack of papers. A share pledge agreement signed by Su Guodong. 40% equity in Su's real estate group. Pledged to me. An 80 million yuan loan. 18% annual interest. 3-year term. The loan date was the end of June last year. The due date was exactly June 30th this year. Su Wanqing's wedding was June 28th. 2 days early. I studied that agreement for a long time. The paper had yellowed slightly. Su Guodong's signature was crooked. A little shaky. 3 years ago he was desperate. He signed it in front of a lawyer. Back then he didn't know who I was. All the paperwork was handled through a third-party attorney. He only knew his lender was surnamed Liu. He thought it was some old man running a loan sharking operation. He had no idea his daughter was with me at the time. I have a habit. I never tell anyone everything about myself. The first thing my grandmother taught me was never say everything. Never show all your money. My grandmother sold eggs at the market her whole life. She secretly saved 300,000 yuan. She took it to her grave. I inherited that habit. Su Wanqing was with me for 3 years. She only knew I worked in finance. No steady job. Income came and went. She asked what I did exactly. I said I managed money for people. She pressed a few times. I brushed it off. And she stopped asking. Eventually, she probably decided I was some low-level P2P salesman or some shady private lending operator. She never asked about my background. I never offered. Back then, I thought there was plenty of time. I'd tell her when the time was right. The agreement in my hands now told me time was no longer on my side. I put the papers away. Locked them back in the tin box. Then I picked up my phone and replied to Su Wanqing. 2 words. Got it. After sending that. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name. Attorney Zhang Zhengqing. I called point 4 rings. Then a steady male voice. Mr. Liu, Attorney Zhang. Su Guodong's loan comes due the day after tomorrow. Are you ready? All documents are prepared. Notarization, witness signatures, lien registration. Full set of procedures. We can execute on the due date. What about the wedding day? A 2-second pause on the other end. Wedding.su Wanqing's wedding. I said. June 28th. Shenghua International. I received the invitation. Zhang Jingqing was silent for a few seconds. His voice dropped lower. Mr. Liu, you're going to do it on the wedding day, yes. Bring the agreement and all notarized documents. You and 2 assistants. Mr. Liu, are you sure? Executing debt collection on site like that. There could be major conflict. And Su Wanqing is your ex-fiancé. I corrected him. The invitation says come witness her happiness. I should bring a gift. Zhang Jingqing sighed on the other end. I'll make arrangements. But Mr. Liu, I should warn you. The Zhou family has connections. Zhou Xiaoheng's father. Zhou Rongfa is the vice president of the city's Chamber of Commerce. Very well connected. If you enforce on site, there could be resistance. Rongfa Group had 300 million yuan in revolving loans pulled by the bank last month. I said. He's got his own holes to fill. Check their balance sheet. Zhou Xiaoheng is marrying Su Wanqing for her family's land. But that land is already my collateral. The whole wedding is a shell transaction. Zhang Jingqing didn't argue. Understood. I'll be there with my team. I hung up. Tossed the phone on the table. Sat back into the creaky old sofa. Outside, the rain grew heavier. Droplets hammered the window, blurring the gray sky beyond. I looked down at my faded white t-shirt. Worn-out jeans. Flip-flops. This outfit wouldn't even get me past the hotel entrance. I stood up. Opened the wardrobe. Dug to the back corner. A black suit jacket hung there. Bought 3 years ago for a closed-door finance conference. Cost me 800 yuan. Worn once, then shoved in the corner. I pulled it out and shook it. The smell of mothballs. I hung it outside the wardrobe to air out. I went to the kitchen and boiled water. Made tea. While the water heated, my phone rang again. Unknown number. Local area code. I answered. Liu Qinzhou. I'm Li Mingming. Su Wanqing's friend. The voice on the other end was sharp. Wanqing asked me to tell you not to come to the wedding. She sent the invitation out of politeness. But if you actually show up, you'll make things awkward for everyone. I took a sip of tea. Hot. She asked me to come. That was her being polite. Don't you have any self-awareness? Look at your situation. Wanqing is with Zhou Xiaoheng now. His family's in real estate. Why are you still hanging on? I'm not hanging on. You got the invitation, didn't you? I did. Then that's not hanging on. She already broke up with you. And you're still keeping her contact info. Just tear up the invitation and don't come. If you do, you're just asking for trouble. I heard people on the Zhou side are looking for you anyway. Think about it. I set the teacup down. My voice came out flatter than I expected. Li Mingming. When did Su Wanqing ask you to make this call? Just now. She said she was afraid you'd embarrass yourself if you showed up. Tell her this. I cut her off. I received the invitation. I'll be at the wedding. What gift I bring is my business. There was a stunned pause on the other end. Then the line went dead. I looked at the screen. Blocked the number. The room fell quiet. Only the rain and the occasional car horn from the street below. I walked to the window with my tea. Looking out at the road. A couple ran past under a shared umbrella. The guy tilted it entirely toward the girl. His own shoulder got soaked. I watched them for a few seconds until they disappeared around the corner. 3 years ago. Su Wanqing and I ran like that. Heavy rain. I waited for her outside the library after class. One umbrella. We squeezed under it walking back to her dorm. Half her body got wet. She laughed and said Liu Qinzhou, you're too honest. Why are you holding the umbrella so wide? The umbrella wasn't wide. I tilted it toward her on purpose. Those days are never coming back. I finished the tea. Opened my mobile banking app. 80 million principal. 3 years of compound interest. Plus penalty clauses. As of today, Su Guodong owed me over 126 million yuan. Due the day after tomorrow. Contract terms. An extra 0.5% late fee per day past due. I closed the app. Took the invitation back out of the tin box. Read it again. Witness my happiness. She wrote that with her own hand. I smiled. Slid the invitation into the suit jacket pocket. The doorbell rang. I walked over and opened it. The landlady stood outside. Plump. Wearing a floral apron. She gave me an awkward look. Xiao Lu. I need to talk to you about something. Someone called and offered double the rent for this place. Do you think you could? I leaned against the doorframe. I signed a 2-year lease. Only been here a year. I know. Just asking. She rubbed her hands together. The guy said he knows you. Surname Zhou. Said you wouldn't be staying long anyway. Surname Zhou. I smiled. Tell him I'm moving the day after tomorrow. I'll still pay this month's rent. Keep the deposit. Consider it yours. The landlady blinked. Probably didn't expect me to agree so easily. She mumbled something and hurried off. She glanced back once as she left. A look of guilt in her eyes that I closed the door. Went back inside. Started packing that I didn't have much. Some clothes. A few books. The tin box. Bedding. 10 minutes, and it was all in 2 duffel bags. Looking at those bags on the floor, it hit me. 3 years in this place. Aside from Su Wanqing, nobody had ever visited. No birthdays. No holidays. No one came when I was sick. After my grandmother died, the only family I had left was a cousin back in the countryside. We talked once a year. Su Wanqing was the only person I was close to. I thought she'd become my family. The day after tomorrow. June 28th. Shenghua International Hotel. I put on the black suit jacket and looked in the mirror. An $8 t-shirt under an $800 jacket. Like those young guys on the bottom rung of the finance world. The nicest shell hiding the shabbiest interior. But the day after tomorrow, I'm peeling that shell off. I took out my phone and sent Su Wanqing a message. Not 2 words this time. Wanqing. I got the invitation. I'll be there on time. All these years you asked what I do for work. And I never gave you a straight answer. You'll see for yourself the day after tomorrow. The message showed as read. No reply. I stared at the screen for 5 minutes. Then locked the phone and put it in my pocket. The rain kept falling. The sky was darkening. Streetlights flicked on outside, their glow smearing into hazy halos through the rain. I stood at the window for a long time, feeling remarkably calm, like waiting for a battle I'd planned for 3 years. One more day to go. Then the day after tomorrow. Shenghua International. I took out the share pledge agreement and read it one more time. My gaze settled on the date beside Su Guodong's signature. June 30th. Wedding on the 28th. Due date on the 30th. Su Guodong had probably forgotten he even signed this thing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have set his daughter's wedding 2 days before the debt came due. Or maybe he remembered. Maybe he was just betting I wouldn't show that I closed the agreement. Put it back in the tin box. The rain outside had softened to a fine mist. Lights flicked on in the building across the street. Someone was cooking. The smell of stir-fry drifted through the rain. I sat in the dark, waiting for dawn. 3 years ago that autumn. I met Su Guodong in a tea house. The tea house was on an old street in the west side of the city. Small entrance. A few rosewood tea tables inside. Su Guodong sat by the window. A pot of tea guanyin sat in front of him. The tea had gone cold. He was gaunt, hollow-eyed, wearing a faded collared shirt. His fingers kept tapping the table. Click, click, click. Like a faulty metronome. I sat down across from him. Mr. Lu. He looked up at me. His eyes full of doubt. The lawyer said you were young. But I didn't expect this young. I was 26 that year. Wearing a gray jacket. Short hair. The disappointment in Su Guodong's eyes was undisguised. He'd probably expected some deep-pocketed old man. Instead, he got someone his daughter's age. Mr. Su. I pushed the teacup aside. Your lawyer explained the situation. Su Group has 2 plots of land still under mortgage. But the banks have cut off your credit lines. You have 70 million in private loans coming due within a month. You came to me because the banks are a dead end. Su Guodong's expression shifted. You've done your research. It's what I do. I poured myself some tea. How much do you need? 100 million. He gritted his teeth. At least 100 million to get through this. My plot in the South District has already gotten planning approval. If I can hold out 6 months until pre-sales start, I can pay it back. Mr. Su. I set the cup down and looked at him. You want 100 million. But there aren't many people in this market willing to lend you 100 million right now. Do you know why? He was silent for a few seconds. Because my credit is ruined. It's not your credit. Word's gotten out. The debt you owe isn't just 70 million. There's the 50 million overdue from that trust. Plus 30 million you borrowed personally. Total that you're carrying over 200 million in liabilities. Your assets are maybe 300 million at best. Leverage is too high. Everyone's scared you'll collapse. Su Guodong's fists clenched. His knuckles went white. He stared at me for a long time. His Adam's apple bobbing. Finally he croaked. Then why are you here? I'm here because I think your plot has potential. I tapped the table with my fingertip. I've looked at the location in the South District. Supporting infrastructure is coming online. In 2 years, it'll double in value. You're just short of breathing room. I can help with that. But I have conditions. What conditions? 40% equity pledge. 3-year term. 18% annual interest. Compounded monthly. Su Guodong shot to his feet. His movement was too sudden. Customers at the next table turned to stare. He realized his loss of composure and sat back down. His hands shook as he reached for his teacup. The tea had gone cold. He winced as it hit his tongue. 18% compounded. He kept his voice low. That's usury. It's private lending. I said. And Mr. SU.do you think any bank will still lend to you? Those finance companies out there, they're charging 30% minimum. Simple interest. 18% compounded works out to about 20% simple interest. That's the best rate you'll get in this market. He was silent. I watched his eyes. Anger. Resentment. Struggle. Finally. Resignation. He unclenched his fists, sunk back in his chair, like his spine had been pulled out. Equity pledged. He said. Once the equity is pledged. Who runs the company? You do. I just take dividends. After 3 years you repay and the equity comes back. If not, I liquidate the collateral at market value. What makes you think I can repay in 3 years? The land. I said. 3 years from now. When the South District is fully developed, your land will be worth at least double. Sell it. Repay me. And you'll still have plenty left. Su Guodong lowered his head. After a long pause. He spoke. 100 million. I need 100 million. 80 million. I said. I've calculated your shortfall. 80 million covers your most urgent debts. The rest you can work through operating cash flow. If I give you 100 million, your leverage ratio won't improve. Other creditors will see you still have money and keep squeezing you. Su Guodong's head snapped up. His look was complex. Hate that I'd calculated so precisely. Respect that I'd calculated so precisely. Where did you come from? He asked suddenly. At your age. Where did you get 80 million? My grandmother left it to me. I said. She sold eggs her whole life. Saved up. Later she invested in some properties. Multiplied it. She left it to me when she died. That was the truth. But not the whole truth. The egg money was the first pot. After she died. I took that money and did a few years of private equity and distressed asset trading. The 80 million was definitely mine. Su Guodong looked at me with doubt in his eyes. But he didn't press. A desperate man doesn't ask what the rope is made of. He just grabs it. He signed. The agreement was executed in front of attorney Zhang Jingqing. Su Guodong's hand shook as he gripped the pen. The signature came out crooked. When he finished the last stroke, he looked up at me. Mr. Liu. One small question. Go ahead. You're surnamed Liu. But what's the lending entity? I need to put it in my books. Liu's personal investment. I said. He nodded. Didn't ask more. I don't know if he suspected anything. But he signed. I handed over an 80 million yuan cashier's check on the spot. His hand was still shaking when he endorsed it. After that. I disappeared. All follow-up went through Zhang Zhengqing. Interest payments quarterly. Su Guodong wired to a third-party escrow account. I never appeared in front of him again. He knew his lender's surname was Liu. He didn't know what Liu looked like. He didn't know that Liu was dating his daughter. Around that time. Su Wanqing had just graduated. Between job applications. She spent nearly every day with me. I helped her polish her resume. Practice interviews. Revise presentations. When she got her first job offer, she grabbed me on the rooftop and jumped up and down for half a minute. Nearly threw her phone off the building. What exactly do you do? She asked. Manage money for people. She asked again. I said. Nothing illegal. She believed me. Looking back. She believed too easily. Not because I was a good actor. Because she didn't want to dig deeper. A guy living in a 1,200 yuan rental. Wearing budget clothes. Clipping coupons for dinner dates. How much money could he possibly have? She probably never put me and money in the same sentence. I thought about telling her once. Last winter, a week before her birthday, Su Guodong had already missed 2 interest payments. Zhang Zhengqing emailed a collection notice. I sat in my rented room at midnight. Looking at that notice, wondering whether to come clean with Su Wanqing. I could picture her expression. First disbelief. Then shock. Then I didn't know what came after that. I hesitated for a week. Said nothing. On her birthday. I gave her the scarf I'd spent a month knitting. She laughed and wrapped it around her neck. That night at Hot Pot, she asked me out of nowhere. Chinzhou, you said you manage money for people. What kind of people? Wealthy people. I said. She looked at me with a hint of a smile. Have you ever met really rich people? Sure. What are they like? Nothing special. Rich or poor, everyone's the same. Eat. Sleep. Go to the bathroom. She laughed and nearly choked. Hit my bowl with her chopsticks. You're so crude. I didn't tell her that among those rich people was a guy like me, wearing a cheap t-shirt and riding the subway. A bank balance with 7 figures at the end. I just didn't want to look like one of them. My grandmother said money is only money when you use it. sitting there. It's just numbers. I hadn't learned how to use mine yet. So it was just numbers. After hot pot that night, I walked her back to her apartment building. Before she went upstairs, she turned and looked at me. Chinjo, when are you going to get a bigger place? Soon. I said. She didn't push. Now I think when she asked that she was already comparing. 3 years ago, I was her boyfriend and her father's only lender. She knew nothing. And Zhou Xiaoying, the Zhou family's golden boy. He appeared in her life early this year. I don't know how they met. A business mixer maybe. Or Su Guodong made the introduction. The Zhous were in real estate. The Sus were in real estate. A merger of two families. A power played out, of course, that the Zhous didn't know the Sus money was already pledged to me. Su Guodong probably hadn't told his future in-laws that little detail, but I sat in my rental, closing the tin box. Placed it on top of the duffel bags. Outside, the sky had gone completely dark. The rain stopped, but distant thunder rumbled. Tomorrow is June 27th. The day after tomorrow is the wedding. I picked up my phone, scrolled to my chat with Su Wanqing. The last message was still my got it, and her unresponded silence. I tapped her profile picture. Her moments were set to 3-day visibility. The most recent post was from yesterday. A close-up of a wedding photo. A hand with a ring. Caption, 2 days to go. I stared for a few seconds. Closed the app. Tossed the phone on the sofa. 2 days to go. Su Wanqing. Oh, you really think your father's company will survive that long? I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. Images churned in my mind. Su Guodong's face when he signed the agreement 3 years ago. Su Wanqing's smile over hot pot. The handwritten words on that gold invitation. They blurred together into one final frame. The day after tomorrow. Shenghua International Hotel's wedding venue. Su Guodong kneeling in front of me. I was actually looking forward to that. June 27th, 7:00 a.m. I was woken by a phone call. Zhang Jingqing. Mr. Lu. Su Guodong contacted me this afternoon. He wants to prepay some of the interest. I sat up and rubbed my face. Where did he get the money? Probably some deposit from the Zhou family. Engagement gift or cooperation prepayment. The Zhous may have had their credit lines cut. But a broke camel is still bigger than a horse. They can probably scrape together 10 or 20 million. What did you tell him? I said interest payments follow the contract. Early repayment incurs a penalty. I quoted the number. He went quiet after that. I got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water. Did he mention tomorrow's wedding? No. But he asked if Mr. Lu himself would be attending. What did you say? I said I didn't know. I'm not familiar with Mr. Lu's schedule. Good. I drank some water. He's already nervous. He probably remembers the due date is June 30th. But he doesn't realize his daughter's wedding falls right before his lender shows up. Zhang Jingqing was quiet for a few seconds. Mr. Lu, are you really going tomorrow? Attorney Zhang. That's the third time you've asked me that. I just think. You and Su Wanqing were together for 3 years. If you enforce collection on site, she might never recover from that. I stood in the kitchen holding the phone. A dirty cup sat on the windowsill. Tea stain at the bottom. Outside, the sky was overcast. Heavy clouds. Like more rain coming. Attorney Zhang. I said. How long have you known me? 5 years. 5 years. In all that time, have you ever seen me lose my temper? He paused. No, I never get angry. Because I only do useful things. Tomorrow at that wedding. I'm not going for revenge. I'm collecting my money. She has 126 million in debt hanging over her father. You think if I don't show that Su Guodong's life will be fine? Zhang Jingqing didn't respond. I show up. She might hurt for a day. I don't show up. That debt snowballs. Her family goes bankrupt. Her father goes to prison. She won't be able to afford a dress. Which outcome is better? A long silence on the other end. Then understood. Mr. Lu. I'll be near Shenghua International at 9 tomorrow. Call me when you arrive. I hung up. Wash my face. Finished packing the last duffel bag. The landlady had already sent my deposit back via WeChat last night. I didn't accept it. Send it back. She sent a voice message. Xiaolu, you really don't have to. I replied. It's fine. 10:00 a.m. The doorbell rang again. This time. A man in a gray polo shirt stood outside. Tall and thin. A polite but distant smile on his face. Mr. Lu Chinzhou. My name is He Rundong. Personal assistant to Mr. Zhou Xiaoying. He pulled a business card from his pocket. Mr. Zhou asked me to have a word with you. I took the card. Good quality. Matte finish. Rongfa Group. Special assistant to the president's office. What about Mr. Zhou heard you and Ms. Su had a history. Tomorrow is Mr. Zhou and Ms. Su's wedding. Mr. Zhou hopes everything goes smoothly. He doesn't want any unpleasantness. He Rundong smiled smoothly. So Mr. Zhou asked me to convey that if you're willing that he can compensate you. Think of it as, thanks for looking after Ms. Su over the years. I leaned against the doorframe. How much? Name your price. If I name it, you'll pay. He Rundong's smile froze for less than a second before recovering. Mr. Zhou's meaning is that within reasonable limits that we can negotiate. Assistant he. Go back and tell Zhou Xiaoheng this. Su Wanqing broke up with me. That was her choice. I never harassed her. She sent me the invitation. She asked me to come to the wedding. If you think me showing up will cause unpleasantness, that you should ask Su Wanqing why she sent me that card. He Rundong's expression shifted slightly. Mr. Lu, Ms. Su sent you the invitation out of basic courtesy. For basic courtesy, she could have emailed me. She didn't have to write. I hope you'll come witness my happiness by hand. Take a look at that yourself. Does that read like basic courtesy? He Rundong was silent for a few seconds. He was smart. He probably sensed something was off. He changed his tone. Softer now. Mr. Lu, I'm not trying to cause trouble. Mr. Zhou just wants to avoid complications. Tomorrow there will be 200 or 300 guests. It's a big event. The bigger the better. I smiled. Assistant he. Go back and tell Zhou Xiaoheng. I'll be at the wedding tomorrow. I'm coming empty-handed. No gifts. And I'm not here to start trouble. I'm just here to take back what belongs to me. He Rundong studied me for a few seconds. Nodded. Turned and walked away. His leather shoes clicked on the concrete stairs. The sound faded. I closed the door. Looked around the room. Everything was packed. The 2 duffel bags by the door. The tin box on the sofa. I walked over. Opened it again. And looked at the agreement one more time. Su Guodong's signature lay there peacefully. 3 years old. The ink long dry. Still legible. I closed the box. Picked up my phone. Sent Su Wanqing a message. This time she replied. Qinzhou, are you really coming? Really? Don't come. I regretted sending that invitation right after I did it. It'll be bad for everyone if you show up. Zhou Xiaoheng's family will all be there. I'm afraid they'll hurt you. I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment. She was worried the Zhous would hurt me. She didn't know I was worried about what I might do to them. Wanqing, I typed. You choosing Zhou Xiaoheng is your business. I'm not coming to cause a scene. I just need to say a few words to your father in person. What would you say to my dad? You don't even know him. I smiled. She still had no idea. We're not close. I replied. But I have to say it to his face. Her end showed typing. For a long time. Finally, a single message came through. Qinzhou, whether you come or not, I hope you find happiness. I'm sorry. Over 3 years that she'd said sorry many times. Sorry for being late. Sorry for forgetting to reply. Sorry for getting mad. But this sorry was the heaviest. It hit like a hammer. I caught it. I put the phone in my pocket. Picked up the duffel bags. Took one last look at the room I'd lived in for 3 years. The mold stain on the wall. Dust on the windowsill. The cup I'd used yesterday still on the table. I walked to the door. Turned off the light. Before pulling the door closed, I swept my gaze across the space one final time. A bed. A table. A chair. A wardrobe. 3 years. 1,000 days. This had been my whole life. But I was taking the most important thing with me. I went downstairs. Walked out the gate. A black Mercedes was parked across the street. When the driver saw me, he got out and opened the back door. I got in. Gave the driver the hotel's address. 2 blocks out. I looked in the rearview mirror. The old residential building was getting smaller. Gray and squat. Like an old rotten tooth. The window was dark. No light would ever come on there again. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I answered. Lu Qinzhou. This is Li Mingming. Her tone was softer than yesterday. Still anxious. Wanqing just called me. She said you're coming to the wedding. What's wrong with you? She told you not to come. Li Mingming. I leaned back against the car seat. What are you to her? Best friend? Or messenger? I'm her best friend. I can't stand watching you harass her. Harass her. I laughed. Who gave you my number? Wanqing did. Right. Think about it. If she didn't want me to come. Why did she send the invitation? If she didn't want me to come. Why give my number to someone who would yell at me? Li Mingming went silent. She wants me there. I said. She just doesn't know how to face what happens next. What happens next? What are you going to do? You'll find out tomorrow. I hung up. Blocked the number. Outside the window, the city's skyline unfolded beneath the clouds. The golden top of Shanghua International Hotel was just visible in the distance. Tomorrow. Everything. June 28th. Clear sky. I woke at 7. Stood by the floor-to-ceiling window in my hotel room for a while. Outside was the most expensive part of the city. Towering buildings. glass facades reflecting the morning sunlight. Shanghua International occupied the prime spot in the city center. 32 floors. From up here, cars looked like beetles crawling along the streets that I'd checked in last night. A business suite, 3,600 yuan a night. The front desk clerk had given me an extra look when I handed over my ID in a faded t-shirt. But she didn't say anything. The room had been paid in advance. 8:00 a.m. I showered, put on the black suit jacket. The white shirt underneath was new. Bought at the mall yesterday. 120 yuan. I straightened my collar in the mirror, splashed water on my face, shaved clean. The man in the mirror looked sharp. Not rich, but at least not like a garbage picker. 8:30 a.m. Zhang Zhengqing called. Mr. Lu, I'm downstairs at Shanghua International. 2 assistants with me. All documents are in a briefcase. When will you arrive? 11:30. I said. Wedding starts at noon. Understood. I'll wait in the lobby. I stood at the window for a while longer after hanging up. Wedding cars had started gathering on the street below. I spotted the lead car. A white Rolls-Royce. A heart of roses on the hood. A line of black Mercedes behind it, all perfectly aligned on the hotel's entrance drive. The Zhou family certainly knew how to put on a show. At least 20 or 30 cars in the procession. Red carpet rolled out at the entrance. Floral arrangements on both sides. Uniformed staff bustling back and forth. I spotted Su Guodong. He stood at the hotel entrance in a dark blue mandarin collar jacket. A red flower pinned to his chest. Big smile. Face flushed. He was shaking hands with a middle-aged man in a silver-gray suit. Posture bent low in deference. That must be Zhou Rongfa, Zhou Xiaoheng's father. Their handshake said everything. Zhou Rongfa's hand hung loose. Su Guodong's hand reached out to hold it. Su Guodong was in debt. His confidence was shot. Zhou Rongfa had also been hit by the bank pullback. But on the surface, he still carried more dignity. 11:00 a.m. I left the room. On the elevator ride down. My heartbeat picked up. I took a deep breath. Buttoned the top button of my shirt. 11:10 a.m. I reached the lobby. Zhang Zhengqing sat in the seating area. A dark brown briefcase on the table in front of him. When he saw me come out of the elevator, his gaze lingered for a moment, probably surprised to see me in a suit. He stood up and gave a slight nod. Mr. Lu, all documents are ready. Share pledge agreement, original. Notarization. Lien registration. Collection notice, interest statement. Every copy has Su Guodong's original signature and witness signatures. Good. Give me the briefcase. Zhang Zhengqing hesitated. You want to carry it in yourself? Yes. You and the assistants wait outside the ballroom. I don't know how long I'll be inside, but if I send someone out to call you, come in immediately. Zhang Zhengqing nodded and handed me the briefcase. I took it. My fingers gripped the handle. Heavy. It held all of 3 years. And all of tomorrow's possibilities. 11:20 a.m. I walked toward the ballroom, through the revolving doors and down a carpeted hallway lined with photo displays. Su Wanqing's wedding portraits hung everywhere. She posed in white lace against Zhou Xiaoheng. Her eyes curved in a smile that I'd seen that smile many times. When she got into college, when she found her first job, on her birthday, when she put on the scarf I gave her. Now she was smiling at someone else. I stopped in front of one photo. Su Wanqing with her head tilted, her veil falling over half, and eyed out a slight smile playing on her lips. Zhou Xiaoheng stood behind her. Arms around her waist. Chin on her shoulder. They did look good together. Wealthy and handsome. Beautiful and radiant. I'd rehearsed this scene in my mind countless times. But standing in front of it, I still felt a dull ache in my chest. Just once I took a breath. Kept walking. The ballroom entrance point. 4 security guards in black suits stood. Each built like a refrigerator. One stopped me. Sir, may I see your invitation? I handed it over. He flipped it open. Scanned it, then looked me up and down, probably confirming the name matched the face. After 2 seconds he handed it back and stepped aside. Mr. Lu, your seat is in the last row. Left side. Last row. Su Wanqing had placed me as far from the main stage as possible. Thoughtful. I pushed the door open. The ballroom was enormous. 40 or more tables. Gold and crystal everywhere. Chandeliers cast warm light through the space. The air was thick with mixed scents of flowers and perfume. Most of the guests had already taken their seats. Men in suits and women in dresses mingled and chatted. Glasses of amber liquid clinked. I found my seat in the last row. A place card confirmed it was mine. I sat down and set the briefcase at my feet. The woman next to me was plump, middle-aged, with permed hair. She glanced over. Oh, are you one of Wanqing's relatives? Friend, I said that Wanqing's friends are all so young. You must be around her age. What do you do? Finance. That's great. She perked up. Do you have a girlfriend? My niece, ma'am. I cut her off. Maybe watch the wedding first. She blinked, turned away awkwardly, and started chatting with the person on her other side that I looked toward the main stage. It was elaborately decorated. A massive flower wall in the background that with white roses arranged into the letters S and Z. Projection screens on both sides cycled through wedding photos and a love story montage. 11:50 a.m. The ballroom lights dimmed. The MC took the stage. A man in a gold suit, booming voice warming up the crowd. The guests quieted. All attention shifted to the stage. Noon. The wedding march began. The ballroom doors slowly opened. Su Wanqing walked in on Su Guodong's arm. She wore a custom white gown with a train 2 meters long. 2 flower girls held the hem behind her. Her veil was thin, semi-transparent, covering most of her face. But I could see her eyes. She was scanning the guest seats. Su Guodong walked slowly, each step deliberate. His chin lifted slightly. A proud father's smile. But his eyes were scanning too. More urgently than hers. They were both looking for someone. The last row. The corner. The seat marked Lu Qinzhou. When Su Guodong saw me, his foot visibly faltered. Barely noticeable. The other guests didn't see it. But I saw it clearly from the last row. His smile froze for a fraction of a second. Then it was back. But his fingers tightened on Su Wanqing's arm. Su Wanqing saw me too. Across the long red carpet and dozens of tables, her gaze locked onto my direction. I couldn't read her expression. But her step faltered. Then she looked away. The wedding march continued. Flower girls scattered petals. Guests applauded. Su Guodong placed Su Wanqing's hand in Zhou Xiaoheng's on the stage. Zhou Xiaoheng wore a white suit, hair slicked and shiny. When he took Su Wanqing's hand, he swept his gaze across the room. His eyes landed on me. He smiled. That smile said everything. Mockery. Triumph. You actually came. I smiled back. 12:20 p.m. Vows. Zhou Xiaoheng took the microphone. His voice brimmed with confidence. Thank you all for coming to witness Wanqing and my happiness. I promise that I will give Wanqing the best life possible. I will never let her suffer. Thunderous applause. I didn't clap from the last row. The briefcase pressed steady against my calf. 12:30 p.m. The MC announced the tea ceremony. Tradition. The couple serves tea to both sets of parents. The attendants brought out trays with 4 cups. Su Wanqing took the first cup to Su Guodong. Knelt. Called him Dad. Su Guodong accepted the tea. His eyes were red. He pulled out a thick red envelope. Then came Zhou Rongfa. Zhou Xiaoheng's father accepted the tea, gave his envelope, patted Su Wanqing's shoulder, and said, "Live well together." Everything looked harmonious. Perfect. Then the MC said, "Next, the bride's father. Mr. Su Guodong that will say a few words." Su Guodong rose from his seat, straightened his Mandarin collar jacket, took the microphone. He cleared his throat. A smile on his face. Today is my daughter Wanqing's big day. I am very happy. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Zhou family for your support. I haven't done much in life. But I raised a good daughter. Wanqing has always been, his voice cut off. Because I stood up. I rose from my seat in the last row, briefcase in hand. I walked along the side aisle. My shoes made no sound on the carpet. But my movement drew more and more attention. People turned. Whispers spread. Su Guodong's voice caught. A screech of feedback from the mic. His hand holding the microphone was shaking. Su Wanqing spun around. She saw me coming. Her gown swept an arc across the carpet. Her lips moved. She said something silently. I read it. No. Zhou Xiaoheng frowned. He waved at the security guards. 2 men started moving toward me from the side. But I'd already reached the bottom of the stage. I stood in the center of everyone's attention. Looked up at Su Guodong. Mr. Su. My voice wasn't loud. But with the ballroom silent, everyone heard clearly. 3 years ago you borrowed 80 million. With interest as of today, 126 million. Tomorrow is the final payment date. I'm here to confirm your repayment plan. Absolute silence. 3 full seconds of it. Then a bomb went off. The ballroom erupted. People stood up. People shouted. Glasses tipped over. Chairs scraped. Women shrieked. Su Guodong's face turned a color I'd never seen before. Ashen with a greenish tinge. His lips trembled. The microphone slipped from his hand and hit the carpet with a dull thud. He stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. You. His voice stuck in his throat. Couldn't form a full sentence. Zhou Xiaoheng reacted first. He strode to the edge of the stage, pointing down at me from above. What the hell are you talking about? Guards, get this man out of here. The two security guards rushed toward me. But before they could touch my arm, the ballroom's side door swung open. Zhang Jingqing walked in with two suited assistants. Each carried a stack of documents. They crossed the room and lined up beside me. Zhang Jingqing extracted a document from the briefcase. He spoke in a steady, carrying voice. This is a share pledge agreement executed by Mr. Su Guodong 3 years ago, on June 30th. Notarized, with all lien registrations in order. Mr. Su Guodong pledged 40% equity in Su's real estate group as collateral to Mr. Liu Qinzhou for a loan of 80 million yuan. Annual interest 18%, compounded monthly. 3-year term. Today is 2 days before the due date. Total principal and interest due. 126 million yuan. Zhang Jingqing held the document up, displayed it for the guests. Some leaned in to look. Others pulled out phones to take photos. A few were already quietly moving toward the exits. Su Guodong stumbled on stage. One hand grabbed a flower stand to keep from falling. His lips trembled harder. His voice came out like a mosquito's buzz. It's you. It's you. Your Liu investment. Yes. I stood below the stage, looking up at him. I'm the one. 3 years ago at the West Side Tea House, the one across the table from you. You asked me where I came from. I said my grandmother sold eggs. You believed it. Su Guodong's legs buckled. He nearly collapsed. Su Wanqing screamed and rushed to catch her father. She spun back to face me. Her expression was pure disbelief. Tears already streamed down her cheeks. Qinzhou. Her voice cracked. What? You lent my father money. Your father's cash flow collapsed 3 years ago. I said. The banks wouldn't lend. The trust cut him off. I gave him 80 million. It kept him afloat. Otherwise, Su Group would have gone bankrupt 3 years ago. Su Wanqing's lips trembled. She let go of her father, walked forward 2 steps. Her train caught on the flower stand base. She stood at the edge of the stage, looking down at me. Like I was a stranger. You always had money. Her voice was barely audible. Your rental. That scarf. You eating instant noodles every day. Those were all real. I had money. I said. I didn't spend it. My grandmother said money is only money when you use it. I hadn't learned how to use mine. Then why didn't you tell me? Anger. More than shock. She was accusing me. Why I'd hidden it for 3 years. Because I planned to tell you after your father repaid the loan. I said. That money was a business loan. Not a gift. I told him to repay in 3 years. During those 3 years we were dating, I didn't feel the need to bring business into the relationship. But I didn't expect. I paused, glanced at Zhou Xiaoheng on stage. His face was pale. He was on the phone. Talking in a low voice. Calling for backup. I didn't expect you to choose him first. Su Wanqing opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Zhou Xiaoheng pulled her behind him. He shoved his phone down on the table and marched to the edge of the stage. He was half a head taller than me. Glared down. Who the hell do you think you are? Showing up here with a piece of paper to ruin my event. My father is the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'll make sure. Zhou Xiaoheng. I pulled another document from Zhang Jingqing's briefcase and held it up to him. This is your father's Rongfa Group monthly debt disclosure statement. Total liabilities. 2.27 billion yuan. Short-term debt coming due. 360 million. After the bank pulled his credit last month, your father is selling assets to fill holes. You're marrying Su Wanqing for her South District land development rights. But here's the thing. I tapped the equity pledge agreement. The development entity is Su Group. 40% of the equity is in my hands. In other words, what you're marrying today is a company with its equity already pledged out. You thought you were getting land. You're getting a name. Zhou Xiaoheng's face went white. He snatched the debt statement. Read it for a few seconds. Then spun to look at his father in the audience. Zhou Rongfa had already stood up. Face dark. A glass of wine in his hand. His knuckles white around it. Dad. Zhou Xiaoheng shouted. Zhou Rongfa ignored him. He looked at me across the crowd. His gaze was cold as a blade. Mr. Liu. You're declaring war on the Zhou family. Mr. Zhou. I gave a slight bow. I have no quarrel with you. Today is about Su Guodong's debt. I'm here to collect. Nothing to do with the Zhou family. Your son's wedding continues. I'm just finding an appropriate venue to speak with my debtor. Zhou Rongfa's gaze deepened. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he turned to his assistant and whispered something. The assistant hurried over and spoke quietly in my ear. Mr. Liu. Mr. Zhou says let's talk privately. No, I said. I'll talk here. The ballroom had descended into chaos. People were slipping out. Others held up phones. Recording. Su Guodong slumped on a chair on stage. Curled into himself. He looked 10 years older. Su Wanqing stood beside him. Hand on his shoulder. Her makeup was ruined. Mascara streaked down her face in black rivulets. Zhou Xiaoheng, through his phone, screamed at me. What do you want? You want money. I'll pay for the Seuss. How much? 100 million. I'll give it to you. Now get the hell out. 126 million. Zhang Zhongqing corrected. I'll pay. Zhou Xiaoheng yanked out a checkbook, scribbled a number, tore it out, and threw it in my face. The check fluttered down on the carpet between us. Gasps from the crowd. I didn't look down at the check. I looked at Zhou Xiaoheng. Sighed. Mr. Zhou, your father's company just had its credit cut. You know how much liquid cash you have left. That check you wrote, will your father even sign it? And here's the bigger issue. I bent down and picked up the check, turned it over. The signature read Zhou Xiaoheng, but the account belonged to a Rongfa Group subsidiary. I smiled. Showed it to Zhou Rongfa. Mr. Zhou, your son is using your company's check to pay someone else's debt. Did you know? Zhou Rongfa shot his son a look. Pure fire. Zhou Xiaoheng's lips trembled. He stepped backward. All right. I folded the check and put it in my pocket. I'll hold on to this for now. We'll see if it clears. If not, I'll come back for it. I turned to Su Guodong. He sat slumped on the chair, head down, shoulders sagging, like a punctured balloon. Su Wanqing crouched in front of him, holding his hand. When she saw me approaching, she snapped her head up. Qinzhou. Her voice was hoarse. Can you not do this today, Wanqing? I crouched down to her eye level. Do you think I'm here to wreck your wedding? She stared at me, eyes swimming in tears. Silent. I'm here to save your father, I said. Without that 80 million 3 years, AGO.SU Group would have gone under. You'd be standing on this stage today in a 30,000 yuan dress at an 800,000 yuan wedding because your father signed that paper 3 years ago. If I didn't come to collect today, and the debt came due tomorrow with no payment, the pledged equity would go into liquidation. 40% of Su Group would be mine. Your father wouldn't even have a seat at the table. Tears dripped off Su Wanqing's chin, hitting the floor. I showed up today. I put it all out in the open. The Zhous know now. If they want to help your father pay off his debt, they'll have to think twice. Your father has more creditors than just me, but I'm the biggest and the most proper. Putting this out in the open leaves him no hiding place, and only one way forward. Pay it back. Su Guodong's head lifted suddenly. He looked at me. His lips moved. Something almost inaudible. Mr. Lu, I don't have 126 million. I know you don't. I said. But you have land. That South District plot is worth at least 200 million now. Sell it. Pay me. What's left will be enough for you to start over. Su Guodong's tears burst out. He slid off the chair. First he stumbled forward. His knees hit the carpet at the stage's edge. Then he collapsed like a sawn-off log. His hands braced against the floor. His forehead nearly touched the carpet. His shoulders shook violently. A strangled sob escaped his throat. A 52-year-old man, dressed in a respectable Mandarin jacket, red flower pinned to his chest, on his daughter's wedding stage, in front of 300 guests. He knelt. Mr. Lu. His voice was raw. Like sandpaper on iron. Let me offer you tea. He looked up, bloodshot eyes, reached over to the attendant's tray, and took a cup of tea. Both hands held it above his head. He shuffled forward on his knees 2 steps, held the cup up to me. Mr. Lu, you saved my life 3 years ago. I don't know how to do anything but build houses. That 80 million I borrowed from you. 3 years later, I haven't repaid a single cent today. Before all these people. Su Guodong. Confess my guilt. Whether you drink the tea or not doesn't matter. But I kneel to you. Thank you for pulling me up that year. The ballroom was silent as a tomb. Everyone watched. Zhou Rongfa stood below the stage. His glass had been set down at some point. Zhou Xiaoheng stood frozen on the other side of the stage, mouth open. His expression had shifted from anger to shock to a complicated emptiness. Su Wanqing crouched beside her father, hands on his arm, tears streaming. But she didn't stop him. I looked down at the tea. Clear amber liquid. A thin wisp of steam rising. Su Guodong's hands trembled. The tea sloshed near the rim. I crouched down in front of him. In full view of everyone. I took the cup. Before I drank. I looked Su Guodong in the eyes. Mr. Su. 3 years ago in the tea house when I lent you the money. You said something to me. You probably don't remember. You said, Mr. Lu. If you pull me through this, I'll remember your kindness for life. I didn't take it seriously at the time. In this business. I've heard plenty of pretty words. But later. When I was dating your daughter, Every time she mentioned you that I thought about the same thing. Su Guodong looked up. Tears and sweat mixed. Trailing from his temples. That I thought about whether I should tell your daughter her family owed me money. I thought about it countless times. Every time that I planned to find the right moment. But the longer I waited, the harder it got. Until today, Wanqing choosing Zhou Xiaoheng is her choice. I don't blame her. But your debt that I have to collect. Because this is how I make my living. If I go soft once, that I'll never be able to stand straight again. I drank 0.3 sips. Jasmine fragrance. The tea was warm. I placed the cup back in his hands. I've had the tea. Mr. Su, your debt follows the contract. Due tomorrow. I'm giving you 3 days to show me a plan for selling the South District land. Proceeds go toward repaying my principal and interest first. If you can't produce a plan in 3 days, I'll start the liquidation process. Su Guodong's head dropped. A voice cracked with sobs. Thank you. Mr. Su Wanqing finally broke. She let go of her father and stood up abruptly. 2 steps brought her to me. Her gown was stained with tears and tea. Veil crooked. Makeup utterly ruined. Chinzhou. Her voice shook violently. You. Were you waiting for me to beg you? No, then why did you come? She pointed at her father. You made him kneel in public. Are you satisfied? Wanqing. You sent the invitation. I looked at her. Come witness my happiness, you wrote. I came. With the contract. I'm your ex-boyfriend and your father's lender. Those 2 things never used to conflict. But today they collided. You can say I chose this timing deliberately. But the contract your father signed had June 30th as the due date. He set the wedding for June 28th. I didn't choose this. Su Wanqing's lips moved. She wanted to argue. Nothing came out. She stood there, gown pooling on the floor. She looked broken. Desperate. Wanqing, I softened my voice. You chose Zhou Xiaoheng because he has money. Family connections. And can give you a good life. But you never knew that the person your father owed the most money to was the ex-boyfriend living in a cheap rental eating instant noodles. You never asked where my money came from. You weren't interested. Now you know. You can keep hating me. But as far as I'm concerned, your father's business is done. And between you and me, that's finished too. I turned to leave. Her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin. Fierce. Lu Chinzhou. Her voice was low. Each word forced out. Why didn't you tell me earlier? If you'd told me earlier. Told you what? I looked at her. Told you I had money. Then you'd have stayed. She didn't answer. But her grip on my wrist slowly relaxed. I took 1 step forward. Behind me, Zhou Xiaoheng's voice cut through. He seemed to have finally recovered from the shock. Hysterical fury. Su Guodong. You lied to me. You're in debt over 100 million, and you pledged your equity away. And you promised me your South District land as a wedding gift. You played me. Xiaoheng. Shut up. Zhou Rongfa's voice was ice. Dad. I said shut up. Zhou Rongfa looked at his son. The look made Zhou Xiaoheng shrink back. Zhou Rongfa turned to me. He was silent for a few seconds. Then. Mr. Lu. I've seen enough. This wedding is over. Collect your debt. I'm taking my people out. As for my son and your ex-fiancé. He paused. That's also over. Su Wanqing looked up sharply at Zhou Xiaoheng. He avoided her gaze. Zhou Rongfa turned and walked out. Zhou Xiaoheng hesitated. Then followed. Xiaoheng. Su Wanqing called after him. Zhou Xiaoheng stopped. He looked back at her. His expression was complicated. Regret. Apology. But mostly relief. Relief at escaping a mess. He said nothing. Turned and walked out behind his father. Su Wanqing stood frozen. Completely hollowed out. The remaining guests looked at each other. An excruciating silence filled the air. People got up and left. Hasty steps. Servers began clearing plates. Kitchen staff peeked out from the back and disappeared again. Su Guodong still knelt on the floor. He hadn't gotten up. He held the empty teacup, staring at the dregs like he'd lost his soul. I walked over. Bent down. Helped him stand. His arms felt light. Lighter than I expected. A real estate developer of decades. And he was this thin. Mr. Su. Tomorrow I'll have attorney Zhang send you a repayment proposal. If you can't pay in 3 years, we'll work something out. But I have one condition. The South District land must be sold. That's your only way out. Su Guodong nodded. Voice raspy. Yes. I let go. Turned to leave. As I passed Su Wanqing, she tugged at my sleeve. Chinzhou. I stopped. Will you still take my calls? I didn't turn around. Wanqing. You have my number. But before you call, think about what you want to say. Is it an apology? Or forgiveness? I've heard the apology. As for forgiveness. I paused. You don't need to ask for it. I don't hate you. So there's nothing to forgive. I walked toward the ballroom doors. Behind me. Silence. Then Su Wanqing's muffled sobs. Very low, like she was trying not to be heard. The sound followed me down the red-carpeted hallway, past the wedding photo displays, all the way past the hotel's revolving doors into the June sunlight. White sun blazed down. I stood on the steps and closed my eyes for a moment. My phone buzzed. Zhang Jingqing.mr. Lu, Zhou Rongfa wants to have dinner with you. Your schedule. I typed back one word. Find out I returned to my hotel room after 2 in the afternoon. I took off the suit jacket and hung it on the back of a chair. I leaned back on the sofa and closed my eyes. Images from the ballroom were still turning in my mind. The thud of Su Guodong kneeling. The grip of Su Wanqing's nails on my wrist. The finality of Zhou Rongfa walking out. Each frame played on repeat. My phone kept buzzing. I picked it up. Zhang Jingqing had sent Su Guodong's initial repayment draft. Rushed out, he said. A formal proposal would come tomorrow morning. Zhou Rongfa's assistant had confirmed dinner the day after tomorrow at the Chinese restaurant in Shanghua International. Several messages from unknown numbers. Probably wedding guests who'd gotten my number somehow. Fishing for connections. I ignored them all. Then one voice message. From Su Wanqing. I pressed play. Her voice was dry and cracked, like she'd been crying for hours. Qinzhou. I'm in the lobby. What room are you in? I want to talk to you in person. I held the phone for a few seconds. Then typed back that it's late. Let's do another time. She replied instantly. 5 minutes. Please. I stared at that please for a long time. Su Wanqing had been with me 3 years. She'd never used the word please. She had too much pride. In college. When she failed an exam. She'd hide and cry alone. She'd never show that weakness to me. Now she was saying please. Her voice sounded shattered. 12th floor. 12:06. 5 minutes later. The doorbell rang. I opened it. Su Wanqing stood outside. She'd changed out of her wedding dress into a simple black dress. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail. No makeup. Eyes swollen like walnuts. She looked up. Her lips parted. Then she looked away. Come in. I stepped aside. She walked in. Stood in the center of the room. Took in the suite. The floor-to-ceiling windows. The sofa. The desk. The minibar. Everything wore a quality she wasn't used to seeing from me. She stared for a few seconds. Then she said, "You stay in a room like this. And you pretended to be poor for 3 years." I didn't pretend. I closed the door and poured myself a glass of water. I told you I had money. I just didn't spend it. I lived in that rental because I didn't need anything better. I saved on food because I'm used to living that way. It has nothing to do with how much I have. Then why didn't you tell me? She turned to face me. Her eyes were red again. If you just told me you had money. Even if you didn't tell me you were my father's lender. Just say you had enough money. One sentence. And then we wouldn't have ended up like this. Wanqing. I held my glass and looked at her. You're right. If I'd told you that, maybe you'd have stayed. But the question is, that would you have stayed because I had money? Or because I was Lu Qinzhou? She froze. You chose Zhou Xiaoheng without knowing my real situation. You thought I was living in a 1,200 yuan rental. Wearing cheap t-shirts. Clipping coupons. But you were with me 3 years. In those 3 years, how did I treat you? You know that. Do you think those 3 years were unhappy? She opened her mouth. No words came out. If you thought those 3 years were happy. Then why did meeting Zhou Xiaoheng make you unhappy? My voice was calm. You just saw a better option. That's not your fault. It's human nature. But you can't blame me for not showing you my option. Su Wanqing's tears fell again. She wiped at them. But they kept coming. Finally, she gave up. Let them stream down her cheeks. Qinzhou. Her voice was hoarse. When I saw you stand up on stage today. My first thought was, he came. He really came. My second thought was, what is he doing here? And when you pulled out those documents. I was in shock. I felt like I'd never known you. You knew me. You just didn't know my money. Where did it come from? Was it really your grandmother? Partly. But I made most of it myself. I walked to the window and looked out at the city skyline. After college. I did private equity. Distressed asset management. I bought assets from people on the verge of bankruptcy at low prices and sold them high. Your father's situation. I'd seen it many times before. I made good money. Then I built my own lending pool. I lent to struggling business owners at high rates. But it was still better than the loan sharks. She leaned against the sofa armrest, curled into herself, trying to be as small as possible. What happens to my father now? She asked. I gave him time. Sell the South District land. Repay me. What's left is enough for him to start fresh. He won't go bankrupt. He won't go to prison. But you tell him this. This is the last time. I won't extend again. Su Wanqing nodded, then shook her head, confused as a lost child. She was quiet for a long time. Clouds had begun to thicken outside. Shadows crept across the buildings opposite. Then she spoke. Softly, almost too quiet. Chinzhou, if I'd stood on that stage today and said I wouldn't marry Zhou Xiaoying, would you have done? No, her head snapped up. Wanqing, you wouldn't have done that. You never do anything that makes you look bad. You'd never stand in front of 300 people and go back on your word. By the time you chose Zhou Xiaoheng, that you'd already thought through your exit strategy. You just didn't expect there was a pit I'd dug under that exit. You admit you dug a pit. I admit I chose this timing. I turned to face her. I don't regret it. She looked at me, tears flowing silently. She stood still for a few seconds, then turned and walked toward the door. At the threshold, she stopped. Back still to me. Her voice quivered. Lu Chinzhou, you are a cold man. I didn't answer. The door closed softly behind her. Click. The room was quiet again. I stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the city slowly turn orange in the dusk light. Zhang Jingqing had sent more messages. I scrolled through them. Su Guodong had already contacted a broker about listing the land. Quick action. Zhou Rongfa was looking into my background too. But I'd buried my trail deep enough. He'd find limited information. Everything was winding down. But Su Wanqing's last words stuck with me. You are a cold man. Cold. Maybe. But I'd never been cold toward her. I was cold toward her choices. 3 days later. July 1st. Noon. I sat in a private dining room at Shanghua International Hotel's second-floor Chinese restaurant. Zhou Rongfa sat across from me. Today he wore a dark gray jacket. No tie. More relaxed than at the wedding. A pot of powder tea sat in front of him. He poured himself a cup, took a sip, put it down. Mr. Lu. He got straight to the point. I asked you here today to say a few things. Go ahead. Mr. Zhou, first, my son and Su Wanqing are done. I've handled what happened at the wedding. Deposits returned. Statements issued. The Zhou family's dignity took a hit. I'm not going to recover it. I've accepted that. Straightforward. Second, he looked at me. That's Su Group equity you're holding. Interested in selling it to me? My hand paused on my teacup. Mr. Zhou wants to buy the Su family's debt. You're a lender. What would you do with land? Real estate development isn't your business. Sell me the claim. I'll develop the South District land. Give you a solid premium. Win-win. I set the cup down. Looked at Zhou Rongfa. His eyes were steady, unflustered. A fox who'd survived 30 years in business. Even with his credit pulled last month, that he was unshakable across the table. Mr. Zhou, I said. The South District land is valued around 200 million right now. Su Guodong owes me 126 million. If I transfer the claim to you, you get the land, develop it, and pay me after the cash flow comes in. You've done the math. But you missed one thing. What at your son's wedding? I in front of 300 people, Su Guodong knelt and served me tea. Everyone saw it. What do you think people will say? Zhou Rongfa's eyebrow twitched. They'll say Zhou Rongfa walked out on the Seuss. Su Guodong knelt to a young man. And now Zhou Rongfa is buying the Seuss land. I smiled. If I were you, I'd let the dust settle first. Wait at least 6 months until the wedding's forgotten. Then make your move. If you buy now, everyone will say Zhou Rongfa is kicking someone while they're down. Zhou Rongfa looked at me. A long silence. Then he picked up the teapot and poured me a cup. Mr. Lu, how old are you? 29. He set the teapot down and leaned back. When I was 29. I was running materials for construction crews. You're sitting across from me at 29 with 126 million in claims. You're older than you look. Thank you. Mr. Zhou. Oh, what's your answer? Will you sell me the equity? Not for now. I said. Su Guodong agreed to sell the land and repay me. I'll give him 3 months. If he can't repay by then, I'll consider other options. If you're still interested, then we can talk. Zhou Rongfa nodded. Didn't press that. He picked up the menu. Then let's order. We'll eat first. We ate for about an hour. The conversation covered neutral topics. Real estate market trends, building material prices, occasional comments on policy. Zhou Rongfa never brought up the Seuss again. He was smart. He knew when to push and when to step back. When we finished, he stood and shook my hand. Mr. Lu, if you ever need anything in this city, come to me. Thank you. Mr. Zhou. He left with his assistant. I was alone in the private room. The tea was still warm. I poured myself another cup. Drank slowly. My phone buzzed. A message from Su Wanqing. First message in 3 days. Chinzhou, I'm completely done with Zhou Xiaoying. He made me sign a release yesterday. I didn't take his money. My father is covering all the wedding costs himself. Please don't pressure him anymore. He hasn't slept in days. His hair has turned mostly gray. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but can you just give him a little breathing room? I read it. Didn't reply immediately. Outside, July sunlight blazed on the streets. People walked past with umbrellas, their shadows compressed into small shapes on the pavement. 3 years ago, in that tea house, Su Guodong's hand had trembled as he signed the agreement. He was 49 then, hair still black. Now he was 52. When I helped him up at the wedding, I saw the gray had overtaken his hairline. 3 years changes a lot. It can turn a thriving businessman into a broken debtor. It can grind genuine feelings into this awkward situation. I replied. I understand. Then I messaged Zhang Jingqing. Extend Su Guodong's repayment plan by 3 months. No additional penalties during that time. No liquidation. Let him sell the land in peace. Zhang Jingqing replied. Understood. I finished my tea. Left the private room. As I passed through the hotel lobby, the front desk clerk recognized me. She gave a small bow. I nodded back. I walked through the revolving doors. The heat hit me. July's heat wave rolled in from the asphalt, carrying the smell of tar and the buzz of distant cicadas. I stood on the steps and took a deep breath. Then I raised my hand and hailed a cab. Driver. West Side Old Street. The cab cut through half the city. Finally stopped at an alley entrance I recognized. I got out and walked along the flagstone path. Found the tea house from 3 years and 3 days ago. It was still there. Fresh paint on the facade. A newer sign. But the rosewood tables inside were the same. I took the seat by the window. Told the owner. Tiguinyan. The owner was an old man with white hair. He glanced at me. Maybe he thought this young man looked familiar. Like someone who'd sat in the same spot 3 years ago. He didn't ask. Just brewed the tea and brought it over. Clear amber liquid. Thin steam rising. I held the cup. Looked through the window at the old locust tree across the street. 3 years and 3 days ago. Su Guodong had sat across this table. A trembling hand signing his name. When he saw me in my gray jacket with my short hair, his eyes filled with disappointment. He probably thought I was some rich kid playing banker with daddy's money. He didn't know that every sin I had was earned one distressed company at a time. Sunlight filtered through the locust tree's leaves. Spattered the table with fine spots of light. I finished the pot. Paid. On my way out. I passed the tea house entrance. A faded blessing sticker clung to the wall, bleached by wind and rain. Just a blurred shape. I stood there looking at it. Then I turned and walked into the midday sun. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Mr. Lu. This is Mr. Su Guodong's assistant. Mr. Su wanted to know if you'd be available to meet tomorrow. He wants to thank you in person for the 3-month extension. Yes. Still at this tea house. 2 p.m. Of course. I'll let Mr. Su know. I hung up. There was one more unread message. I opened it. Su Wanqing's profile picture. A photo. Her scarf from last year. Washed clean. Folded neatly in a storage box. Caption. I still have this. I'll always keep it. I looked at it for 2 seconds. Closed the chat. An empty cab was approaching. I raised my hand. When I got in, the driver asked where I was going. I thought for a moment. Just drive. Anywhere. The car merged into traffic. I leaned against the window and watched the streets slide past. Old shops. Breakfast stalls. Grocery stores. Hardware shops. 3 years ago, I'd walked these streets countless times. Always with a purpose. Today was the first time I had none. The ordinary life of the city flowed past me like water. I closed my eyes in the back of the My phone buzzed again. This time I didn't pick it up. The cab carried me through the city. Through sunlight and cicada song. Through streets busy or barren. When it stopped, I'd get out. And I'd keep walking. As for Su Wanqing and Su Guodong, I gave them 3 months. What they owed, they'll pay. Business and feelings. I'd separated them completely, cleanly.